And I've been itching to get in this podcast room for a long time. Talk some UFC with you, and I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a very exciting summer. We just finished the UFC White House, but also looking forward to, we have International Fight Week. It's one of the best months in UFC history, I think, with those two events.
Oh, absolutely, dude. I thought the White House was absolutely spectacular. You got all finishes. I thought the live band was rocking. I wish they would do that every time. Um, and with International Fight Week coming up, we got some other good fights in the pipeline here.
Yeah, so I guess while I have you here, do you have any thoughts on any of the international um, week fights? Paddy, BSD, Max, Connor, Corey, Bautista?
I mean, the first one that I want to start with is Paddy BSD because I think that's going to be a slobber knocker. I think they're both kind of like gritty physicality maxing, and Paddy, of course, he lost to Gaethje in his last fight, and then BSD, what was his last fight? Was that when he beat Rufy?
Rufi and Benil, yeah.
Oh yeah, he slimed up Anil. Yeah. I think my pick for that one is I'm gonna go with Paddy. I think BSD is definitely a tough out, but the way that Moicano handled him, I could see Paddy doing kind of a similar game plan. What do you think about that one on the feet, though?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't really know who I'm picking in that one. I mean, they're both have put in amazing performance recently. I think Paddy's performance against Gaethje has aged very well. People were giving a lot of credit after the fight, and then seeing Gaethje this last weekend, and then obviously BSD's last two performances between Rufi and Benil. I mean, he's been on a roll, and I feel like people are starting to buy his stock again after maybe some people left the bandwagon.
Yeah, definitely, dude. I thought he's I think he's a tough out for anybody. He's big. They're both big dudes too. Like both of these guys I feel like could fight at a 170. I just think I don't know how old BSD is, but I know, Paddy, I feel like for him this is a real do or die moment because he had all that backing. He was a little bit I think pushed by the UFC into that spot with Gaethje. And I picked him to win that. I was surprised that he was beaten, but I think when you look at the Ilya fight now, it's like, dude, Gaethje is that guy. And this is kind of off topic here, but what do you think is next for Gaethje?
For Gaethje, I mean, it's the UFC, and I think it's hinted Armin. And Armin's been on a streak, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go that direction. I think if Paddy wins here, I'm curious if he would call out Ilya, because I think that would obviously be a huge fight to make.
Yeah, I think that would be a sick one, dude, and the buildup would be a lot of fun there. Should we jump into Conor versus Max here?
I mean, yeah, sure. I think that's the one everyone wants to talk about. We haven't seen Conor in 5 years. He's the biggest star the sport's ever seen in terms of marketability. And his run to the belt was generational. I don't know if we've seen something like that again. And then, you have Max Holloway, 13 years since they fought the first time. Max Holloway's gone on to amazing things in that time. So I think it's a kind of a full circle moment.
Yeah, it's a banger, dude. I peeped the interview with Ariel that Connor did. He seems locked in. He seems like he's saying the right stuff and he's focused. I like that he's not putting a ton on social media as far as like preparation for this fight. Um, I think Max is a tough out though, man. I like if this one gets past the first, 7 minutes or so, I just think he's gonna be wailing on Connor. But I also think at 170, Connor's gonna be real dangerous out of the gates.
Yeah, it's difficult to say what to expect from Connor, given it's a layoff. So I think it's hard to, make any definitive statements. You know, it's all up in the air. Obviously, Max is maybe the best chin in MMA history. Only been tested once, um, and so it's really a true. I think the wild card comes down to we've never seen him at 170, and we haven't seen Connor since 2021, and he suffered that awful injury. So curious to see how he rebounds from that. But yeah,
Yeah. Dude, I mean, Max is like the thing. He's been fighting just the top guys in the world, and he looked really good against both Gaethje, of course, at 300, and then Dustin as well. And I thought he even did. He had some success in the Ilya fight. That I wonder if he didn't get caught there, how that might have played out. Um, I don't know how big Max is for 170. I don't think either of them are real 170s, but I think Conor will definitely be bigger. He said in his interview with Ariel that this is like the first time he'll be cutting to make 170. But how much does that affect his gas tank too?
yeah, I think that will be interesting. See how it affects his gas tank, and then actually, if you look, Connor's notorious for having I think a 74-inch reach, so that was one of his biggest advantages at 145. So where Holloway's used to being the taller opponent, I'm not sure whether or not. I don't think he'll actually have the reach advantage for this fight.
Yeah. I wonder like how much they're gonna approach it just boxing, like who's gonna be kicking more because we've seen like Max has he's got a nasty kicking game. I think Connor does too, but I feel like he definitely got away from that. When he was fighting Dustin, at least, uh, I didn't. He took that boxing approach and he just got his legs chewed up. So that's one that I've been excited about for a while. What's your? Do you want to give a prediction on that?
I'm not really sure as far as prediction. I'm just looking forward to enjoying the fight. I don't really typically make predictions. But what about you?
I would go with. I think Max Holloway is going to take it in round two, and I hate saying that as a Connor fan, but I just think the time off and coming up against the guy that's this dangerous and has been so active recently is it's a tough ask. But if anyone can do it, it's Mystic Mac for sure.
And speaking of Irish MMA, they just announced Garry versus Islam Makhachev
Hmm.
for that 170 belt in Philly this August.
Yeah, I was
Curious
I was
kind of
trying to
your
get
thoughts on that fight.
I was trying to get tickets to that one because it's in Philly. Like that would have been a sick one to go to. Ian Garry is big, dude, and he fights. I think he's only lost to Shavkat, who is he's a monster.
And that
But
was one of the ones where I think you've seen it more than ever, where after a loss, his performance was being praised unanimously.
yeah, oh yeah, and I mean the way that he took care of Prates, he's a smart guy. I think he's going to game plan well, and I think if anybody's expecting this to be a walk in the park for Islam, they're tripping because he is good, he's big, and like I said, he's a smart fighter. So it's not going to be an easy one for Islam. I'm curious how he would handle the wrestling of Islam, though.
I think the thing that Ian Garry deserves a lot of credit for is he's one of the fighters where you can clearly tell after each performance he goes back to the drawing board, is very cerebral, and he implements. He finds what he where he can improve, and every fight in the UFC he's made improvements. You've seen that between every fight he's made. But it will be a huge test with Islam. Some people argue he's the best fighter of all time. And he's certainly in that debate, so it will be a challenge like he hasn't faced before.
Yeah, I mean Islam is just he's so good, man. And I wonder like if Gary will bring in people like a Craig Jones or, like work with people that have gone against that style before and try to work out like some of the things like that fighting off the handcuffs and that chain wrestling is just so like the way he beat Jack Della Maddalena was, that's a very dominant performance. So that's one that I definitely got my eye on. I I could I it's gonna sound maybe a little nuts, but I think Gary could definitely get it done.
I mean, he's definitely an amazing fighter. I wouldn't be shocked either way, regardless of that result. And with Gary being in Brazil, he's probably getting some training in with Oliveira. I know they're pretty close, so he does have that common opponent with Islam. So that could be give him some pointers.
Yeah, that would be huge. I mean, I think you gotta this is one of the ones where, like you said, he's amazing at adapting and learning. And this is gonna be one that he's gonna have to use all of those skills and have a great game plan, stick to it, and come in great shape. And I think he could shock a lot of people with his performance.
And so those are the biggest announced fights. What do you think is the biggest fight that hasn't been announced yet that could realistically be made?
I think I don't know if they've announced this, but like Gon versus Aspinall should be a banger. The rematch there. I would think that you gotta favor Gon a little bit, just given how good he looked against Pereira, and then Tom having the time off with that terrible injury. Um, what else could be announced that would be like a banger? What are they saying about what's Strickland gonna do next?
It's the number one contender right now in the rankings is Imvov,
Hmm.
which would be an interesting fight for Strickland. They did fight once before, um, I think 3 or 4 years ago when Imvov was younger, but Strickland got the victory in that one. But I think Imavov's shown big improvement since then.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to see that one. I know he doesn't. I don't think he's looking for a rematch against Hamza. And honestly, I don't. I wouldn't give it. I wouldn't give the rematch to Hamzat. I just feel like they're. I'm pro. I'm anti rematches. Just I think they kind of slow things up, and I like seeing. I know the of course Imavov would be a rematch too, but it just feels like maybe a little bit fresher. Um, I'm trying to think what else. Who's like Joshua Van got coming up?
So there's Pantoja. I'm not entirely sure on his timeline. I don't think it's been clear, but from everything, I think, with Pantoja, the way he lost the title and with how dominant he was, I think the indication is that he will fight for the title. And then tomorrow night, as we're recording this, there's a big fight between Manel Kopp and Kyoji Horiguchi. I think Pantoja may be the next fight for Van, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kopp or Horiguchi's next fight is the winner of that fight.
Yeah, yeah, they're that should be a good one. I didn't get to watch the Gooch's last fight, but I've heard he's been looking good, and definitely want to watch. Uh, Speaking of big fights coming up, I think when they do Marab versus Jan, if Jan can win, him versus Sugar Sean is going to be a banger. I'll always watch that one. I thought Jan looked super impressive, and I would lean towards him in a rematch, especially if it's 5 rounds. But like you can't underestimate Sugar for a minute, and he's a sniper, so that one's gonna be sick whenever that happens.
Yeah, the first fight between Jan and O'Malley is about as close as you can get in a fight. A lot of people scored for Jan, a lot of people, um, and the decision was given to O'Malley. I've heard valid arguments for both, and so it's pretty much one of the rare times where we've seen a fight before that necessarily doesn't tell you, give you a strong indication on who to go towards.
Yeah, that would be one that I mean, I would wonder what the odds would look like there. But I'd be really excited for that one. I love watching both of those guys fight, and I think 135 is in a great spot. I really like that division. So,
I think in
yeah,
general, a lot of divisions, are in a great spot. I think the second half of this year is really bracing up to be one of the better stretches.
yeah, definitely, man. I can't wait to see what they got cooking up for the next half.
Certainly. And so, thank you for taking time to speak to me. Where's the best place for people to follow you?
I would definitely, if you want to see the best content on the internet, I would check out the Skinnydog 16 YouTube channel. Hopefully, we'll get the Instagram or the TikTok running again soon. But for now, just keep your eye on the YouTube. Good things are coming. So appreciate you having me on here. It's a great show, and proud to be a part of something like this from the ground floor.
Oh no, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, his content is a bit different, not MMA related, but I know he's a big MMA fan, so I figured I'd bring him on and definitely recommend his content. It's a great change of pace. Um, but yeah, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the video, and go follow Skinny Dog on all social media platforms.
Sweet. Thank you. Bless.